Ghosting is acting like you don't exist.
I think it's something that's pretty rude. I don't know, I feel like it's always respectful to answer people, especially because I think about answering people as if it was in person. Like if you were talking to somebody in person and they just didn't reply to you, that would feel very rude. So I try my best not to be that. I just try to think of messages as if it's real life.
Ghosting is a social phenomenon where an individual or a group ends all forms of communication without any sort of notice or warning. It is referred to as ghosting because the person from whom all communication is cut off is treated as a ghost. As if they stood right in front of you, you would phase through them. Only in recent years, researchers have started studying this as a form of social rejection, despite ghosting being around forever. The main reason why it's talked about more now than before is because now there are more ways of communication. We have more ways of socializing and meeting new people, hence more ways of being ghosted.
I was newly single and back in like the dating game, and I'd planned 2 dates on the same day with guys that I've been talking to on Tinder. But the first date, it was so nice. We had a great time. When the date had been lasting for like 3 or 4 hours, I started to get texts and Snapchats from the guy that I was going on date number 2 with. But I was just like, nah, no, not now. I'll deal with that later. At one point during the first date, I ran into a friend of mine who's a journalist. He works at TV2. When he asked if he could interview us, we were like, yeah, sure, no worries, no problem. Turns out that the second guy, he also works at TV2. So the guy that I ghosted that day edited footage that was going on the news of me being on a date with another guy. So the thing was that after like the 2 days had passed, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been busy, to the second guy. And we actually ended up started dating for a month or 2. And then he ghosted me in the end. At the time, I went really like looking inward and trying to figure out what I did wrong and in what way I was the problem. But I think for him, it was just like an easy way out. And maybe he didn't know how to say what he was thinking about, and that it just felt, I don't know, safer for him to just ghost instead of just letting me know that this isn't going to continue.
Ghosting is very common in dating. Besides social media increasing the chances of meeting more people, dating apps such as Tinder, Bumble, or Hinge have made it much easier for people to pursue romantic or sexual interests. In 2019, Dr. Gilly Friedman published a research paper titled Ghosting and Destiny: Implicate Theories or Relationships Predict Beliefs About Ghosting. The research states that among 747 participants, 23% had been ghosted and 18.9% had ghosted a romantic partner. Participants also stated that they ghosted someone everything based from attractiveness to how safe they felt around them.
It feels weird to think about it, but one of them I sort of met when I lived in Brazil. I was about 13 years old. And now that I think about it, he was like 18, so that was kind of weird. And when I moved to Norway, he started talking to me about how he wanted to come to Europe, and he was just like kind of weird. And I noticed right before I came here that he sent me messages that he had moved to Portugal, and that's when it kind of felt like it was getting closer to me. So I just straight up didn't answer him. I felt very awkward. I didn't want to have any contact with him anymore. When I moved to Norway and I had just gone to this class where I spent a year, I had to learn Norwegian there. And so I met this guy. He just went to the same class as me, and he's been kind of sending me every year since then, "Hi, Eugenia." once a year. I did reply to him one time in 2015, and he just asked me, "Do you remember me?" And I thought that was weird, so I said, "I do." And then he asked me for my number, and that's when I started not replying to him.
Although most research that has been done on ghosting is around romantic relationships, ghosting can hit much closer to home than expected. When my parents separated, I was obviously going back and forth between my parents, but I was mainly living with my mother. So I used to go visit my father whenever there were holidays, and in Nepal we have quite a lot of holidays. When I wouldn't visit him, he would call, and then he stopped calling, so I stopped having any kind of communication with him after a while, and there was no explanation to why he stopped reaching out to me, or just the whole family as general. But when the realization came in that he's not part of our family, when we had an earthquake in Nepal, and it was quite a serious situation. My own father didn't even bother making a phone call when we had gone through an experience like that. My stepfather, who was in Norway working at the time, decided to leave Norway and come be with us. And then I just started seeing my stepfather as my actual father, because I felt like he did more. Years later, he did try to reach out, and I didn't respond to him. So simply because I don't feel like I need that. I don't feel like I need him or that relationship in my life in any way. I feel like my life is more stable the way it is now, so I think the way things are, I think it's better for both of us. Understanding social relationships is complex. There's no way to escape it. Perhaps that's where ghosting comes in. For some, it's a moment of realization, to learn. For some, it's necessary to protect themselves. And for some, it's life-changing, to build new relationships.